Welcome to Better Daily Life, where we are moving forward 1% better every single day. Download the app and supercharge your journey at betterdaily.life. Now it's time to ditch facts and get facts with your host and my dad, Alex Van Houten.
What is up, Betterment family? This is Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Happy Monday. It is Mindset Monday, and I'm so excited to bring this mindset to you. This mindset is, don't wait for the worst. I'm stoked about this mindset, and I'm stoked about our Faithful 40 Challenge. Happy 25th day of the Faithful 40 Challenge. We are 15 days away from calling it a game challenge, wrap, calling it a wrap. Do people say that? Well, whatever. We are 15 days away from being done with this challenge, and it's been an awesome challenge thus far. We are in the growth phase of the Faithful 40 Challenge. So how's growing going for you? Is that going well? Are you journaling struggles and obstacles that are in your way but need to be beat down? I've shared a few of those with you guys recently. Are you lifting weights? Have you picked up a weight recently? Because who knows, maybe you haven't been lifting weights and now you are. And if you are lifting weights already, maybe you've challenged yourself a little more in this. Or have you been getting enough protein? So I wanted to answer a question about that before we get into the mindset. Somebody asked me about, in our Faithful 40 Challenge, we have this recommended calendar, recommended schedule. And in the challenge, you have the opportunity to create your focus and your commitment. We are all journaling mindset, nutrition, and exercise through this time together. But there's some suggested focus points for those who don't know what they should be focusing on. And so in the growth phase, I recommend focusing on protein intake. So if you've been journaling your food, you know about how many grams of protein you've been eating each day. And I made a recommendation on there. Hey, get at least 0.6 grams of protein times your body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds times 0.6 is 120 grams of protein. That would be the minimum amount of protein I would recommend if you're being active on a regular basis. And that is the minimum amount of protein recommended. I had somebody ask, so what does that mean? Do I need to be getting more? And so I wanted to clarify that real quick. Good morning, Elise. Thanks for joining me this morning. So I can talk more about protein tomorrow on Nutrition Tip Tuesday, but to clarify that real quick for the individual in our community who asked, because we do that here. If you ask questions in our community, I go live daily and I answer them. Sometimes my editor leaves those answers in the public podcast presentation, but sometimes it's just here for our premium members. So keep asking away and I'll keep answering those questions. Good morning, Leslie. Thanks for joining me this morning. So protein intake, 0.6 times your body weight is table stakes. If you are living an active lifestyle, that means you're getting enough protein that your body can recover and restore itself. And it's also minimum because as we age, and for a few other health reasons, as we age, our absorption of protein decreases as well. So maintaining at least 0.6 times your body weight in grams of protein a day is a good minimum to go with. Now, some of us need quite a bit more than that, and it might be because of malabsorption. I have Ehlers-Danlos. It's a genetic disorder that makes my connective tissue not function right. It shows up in my tendons and ligaments, but also in my digestive tract. I have problems with absorption of protein, and so it's important to me to get slightly more protein than my body needs, because that's about how much I have to eat for it to get into my bloodstream, right? But there's a few other things that will affect your protein intake. One, if you are weight training for large volume, high intensity, if you're getting about 3 hours or more of weight training a week, some people I know are getting 5 hours, some are getting 8 hours. And man, I would love to spend 8 hours weight training, maybe someday when I have a little more time on my hands. But that said, if you're getting that much weight training done in a week, then the recommendation for protein actually goes up to 1 gram per pound of body weight, all the way up to 1.3 grams per pound of body weight. So that's a lot of protein, right? That would be consuming in my example earlier, if you weigh 200 pounds, 0.6 times 200 is 120. If you're that intense with your weight training activity, then you're looking at 200 or more grams of protein in your day. So that's quite a bit of protein. So to the question asked, in the recommendations for the Faithful 40 Challenge, I put the minimum amount, 0.6 times your body weight. And that's the amount that we should all be getting with regard to our goal. There are a few small reasons why you might deviate from that on the lower end of things, but that's not the majority of individuals. And then the higher protein intake, you'll see me say, hey, I only had 130 grams today. I need to get a little more than that. That's me saying, hey, I'm very active. I weight train regularly, and I have absorption issues with regard to protein. So I'm working to get a little higher. If you have personal questions about that, please feel free to message me or comment on this video. If you're in here, it's because you have access to our premium group. And so you're very welcome to ask those questions, and I will get back to you 100%. That said, there's one thing I didn't, Miss Leslie's joining us this morning, which reminded me, there are a few reasons why you might not want to go crazy on your protein. There are some individuals that eating 1 gram of protein per their body weight is not good for their body. That's too much protein. Maybe it would be too much stress on the organs. Maybe there's another reason for that. So if you have issues related to protein digestion or clearing uric acid, that's a byproduct of protein digestion and synthesis out of your bloodstream, then you got to be careful with your protein intake. 0.6, again, that's pretty low. If you weigh 150 pounds, 0.6 times your body weight is something around 80 or 90. Anyway, you guys get the idea. So in the growth phase, we're focusing on your protein intake, and I hope that as you journal your mindset, the struggles that you're wrestling through, your nutrition, the protein intake that you have over this phase, and exercise, whether or not you're getting some weight training in, or maybe you need to work some challenge into your exercise program, that you're moving forward on that front. I'm really proud of the progress I'm seeing, and it's been challenging and inspiring to me too, so thank you. So today's mindset is, don't wait for the worst. Don't wait for the worst. So some backstory here. I was talking to a guy, it was about 3 years ago, here in Greenbrier, Arkansas. And he's a guy I go to church with. We were actually throwing some sandbags on a house because the local river had overflown. Snowmelt in Colorado plus rains in Missouri. Big, giant flooding issue here. It was kind of scary. The levee was about to move, and we were concerned that it was going to wash away some houses. So anyway, I'm helping to stack sandbags around these houses, and I'm talking to this guy, and he's like, man, my cardio is terrible. And I was like, oh, what are you doing for exercise? And he's like, oh, nothing. I'm like, oh, okay. So he's stacking these sandbags, and he's huffing and puffing, man. It's hard work, okay? It was a workout. We were at that all weekend long, stacking sandbags around houses, and he's huffing and puffing. He's like, man. I'm like, so what did you used to do for cardio? Because he kept saying, I used to be in great shape. He's like, oh, I was a runner in high school, but I really haven't run since. He's like in his early 40s. And I said, well, what are you waiting for? And he stops, wipes his hands off, puts his hands on his hips like this. I can see it in my head. I can see it in my head because I've never heard anybody say this before. What are you waiting on to get in good shape? What are you waiting on to do some cardio? And he goes, I guess I'm waiting on a heart attack or something. That's what he said. And he said it with no irony in his face. He was being truthful. He just said it outright. Guess I'm waiting on a heart attack. And my heart broke for the guy because he was being real. I've never had anybody be that honest about their fitness goals, not just to me, but to themselves. Just outright say, you know what? I could make time. I used to be a runner. Don't know why I'm not running now. My body's just perfectly fine with it. I guess I'm waiting on a heart attack. I'm like, what makes you say that? And he goes, oh, my dad died of a heart attack when he was 50. I'm 40. So maybe I'm waiting on a heart attack to wake me up. And it blew me away, man. It blew me away. I was like, how can you say that? If you know that you have a family history of XYZ problem, why are you waiting for the worst? If you know that you might be able, and don't get me wrong, we're all going to die someday, okay? And that really stinks. But if you know that you have a risk of a cancer, or you have a risk of cardiovascular disease, or you have a risk of addiction, if you know, then why wouldn't you do something about it? Now, before the worst kicks your butt. If you know that. And I'm not, look, I wasn't telling the guy, Like, what's wrong with you? You need to adopt a 6-hour-a-week exercise program and change your eating immediately. Not to mention we had pizza right after all that. Look, it was community service, okay? Like, we've been working our butts off for hours, and somebody brought us pizza. I'm like, dude, we scarfed that down and went back, because we're talking about saving people's houses. This was no joke, okay? So if you know that you're at risk, why would you wait for the worst? And here's a weird truth to that. We are all, even if you don't have a family history of heart disease at 50, we are all at risk of something. And the little tick in our brain that says, hey, you should probably start walking daily. Hey, you should probably stop drinking all that stuff. Hey, you should probably cut down on your caffeine intake. Hey, you should probably relax more often. Hey, you need more sleep. Like that little tiny voice inside that's like tapping you on the shoulder. And it's like, hey, you probably need to, that voice isn't stupid. Sometimes we're stupid for not listening to it. Why would you wait for the worst? So I'm working with this guy right now. He's become a dear friend over the past 2 years through Bible study and community service, and he's just a real upstanding guy. I admire him a lot. He approached me about 3 months ago. At church and said, hey, Alex, look, here's the deal. I kind of know what you do for a living, but I'm not really sure. Do you help people like me? And I'm like, I don't know. What's going on, man? And so he gives me his medical history in the church lobby, and I'm like, come to my house, come to my garage, Tim. Let's see what I can do for you. And so we started working together. And about 8 weeks into working together, his body had been changing well. He had started to lose a little weight. He'd started to gain some endurance and stuff. And like this guy is, without revealing too much of his medical history, he was in a position where walking up and down my driveway was a workout. Okay. Like we were square zero. Okay. Like getting up and being ambulatory and having good posture and stuff. He had so much work done on his back. Like he was in a really rough spot, physically speaking. And so we're moving forward, right? And then about 8 weeks in, I said, hey man, something about how your body's adapting to this doesn't sit well with me. Will you please go to your doctor and get checked out? He said, yeah. So he goes to his cardiologist, and his cardiologist does the stress test, does the echo, and he goes, hey man, you have 3 arteries that are 92% blocked in your heart. You need immediate bypass surgery. And he's blown away by this, right? He's like, whoa, I didn't know. And the cardiologist says to him straight up, outright, he says, if you hadn't been walking these past 8 weeks, you might have died of a heart attack before Christmas. He was telling him that if he hadn't started training and found the issue right now, that he'd probably not have had one more Christmas with his family. Because a massive heart, like you have a heart attack, you don't always come out the other side, right? A heart attack's not just like, oh, take him to the hospital, he'll be fine. He might not have made it. And so he calls me up and he's tearful. He's like, dude, you just saved my life. I'm like, what? What did I do? And he said, if you hadn't been making me do this stuff, then I wouldn't have known about this. And so he went through surgery. He did great. He went through surgery. We're working on rehab right now. It's very awesome on a number of fronts. Funny story, the occupational therapist comes into his room after his surgery, and it's like, all right, look, you're a big guy. I need to work with you right now to see if you can stand up out of bed without using your arms, because in surgery they crack your chest all the way down the sternum. So like you can't grab the sides of the bed, you have to stand up. And he goes, oh, and he kicks his legs off the side of the bed, goes to the edge, and the guy goes, are you sure you can stand up without using your arms? He goes, yeah, this is a box squat. My trainers had me do like thousands of these in the past few weeks. So he stands up and the guy's amazed. He's like, whoa, most guys your age can't do this. And he goes, most guys don't have Alex. So yeah, if I needed a billboard for training, all that to say, don't wait for the worst, because he might give me credit for helping him get to the doctor on time and learning this about himself before it was a problem. But I give him credit because in the back of his head somewhere was, hey, go talk to Alex. Don't wait for the worst. Go talk to Alex. See if there's not something you can be doing to improve rather than just sitting around. And I'm going to say the same thing to you. Don't wait for the worst. If there's a little voice inside your head that's saying, hey, do this, stop waiting, do this. Stop waiting, get your sleep on track. Stop waiting, cut down on your caffeine intake. Stop waiting, get enough protein. Stop waiting, start lifting weights. Whatever that little voice inside is telling you, don't wait for the worst. It's not stupid. What's stupid is not listening to it. So, Leslie says we got to work on our genetic weaknesses 100%. If you have a family history of something, it's incumbent on you to let your mind wander for a moment. And I don't espouse anxiety, all right? But I need you to walk down the path of potential consequences when the toddler inside does not want to worry about potential consequences. If you have a family history of heart disease, you need to be doing cardiovascular exercise. I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care if you don't have time for it. Freaking do it. That's all there is to it. Because you have to give yourself the best opportunity with the knowledge that you're given. And that's the thing, right? Because you have the opportunity and you have the knowledge. So let's be a good steward of that. Don't wait for the worst. That's my mindset for you this week. Guys, this has been Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Thank you so much for joining me on Mindset Monday. Tomorrow's Nutrition Tip Tuesday. And I guess we're talking about protein unless y'all have a different question that we need to roll into because, well, this is just as much for you as anybody else. Until next time, it's just 1%. You got this.
Thank you for joining us for your 1% Better. Be you, just better, in mind, body, and spirit. Go to betterdaily.life, download our app, and check out our 5-star coaching resources. We all have a cross to carry. It's lighter when we do it together. Go to betterdaily.life